Hi everybody, I'm going to show you just a quick few tips to start your assignment here, and I know that your instructor is doing a demo as well, so I'm just going to cover one of my favorite tools and show you some tricks whenever you get started. Okay, so I am opening up what I'm considering my background layer, and you are to choose kind of like a background layer, and then which could be your animal, and then or not, kind of depends on what you want to do. You could do like the picture frame, picture frame as your background as well. But you're supposed to use one animal, one prop, and one, I guess, two props. So either the sunglasses and the hat. So I am actually going to start with the cow being kind of my background layer here. And hold on one second. As I get started here, I'm kind of screwing this up. All right, so I just opened up my cow, my animal layer, and I am going to rename my layer here, background layer. And in here in my toolbar are my selection tools. So you can do your, these are considered your selection tools, is your marquee tools, your lasso tools, your magic wand tools. So these are all three areas in which you can select part of your image. Some do better than others for certain purposes. Now, the lasso tool is pretty much very similar, all the lasso tools in here. The lasso tool, just the regular lasso tools, acts like a pencil where you can actually follow along the line as long as you trace it. The polygonal lasso tool does straight lines. So if you have more of a angular image that doesn't have a lot of curves, that's what you would use. And the magnetic lasso tool is one of my favorite. If you don't see that in your toolbar, it has a little magnet there. Click on the three little dots down here. Now mine is already showing, but the three little dots will show more tools available, and you can just drag it in there. The magnetic lasso tool pretty much, it says here, makes the selection by snapping to image edges. So basically what it does is once you click on a specific pixel, and I'm going to zoom in here so you can see, this image is comprised of tiny little pixels. You can see it's little squares. Once you click on a pixel, it's going to take that information of that color, and it's going to make sure that it adheres to it as you drag your tool around the edge or around wherever you're trying to select. So with that selected, go ahead and click anywhere where you want to kind of start that edge selection one time, and then don't click anymore. Just kind of see how, follow, and I'm just using my trackpad. I'm just kind of moving my finger, kind of tracing it, but I'm not clicking. And it's actually adhering itself to that pixel information that I first clicked on. Now, there might be instances where the image kind of gets a little fuzzy, like right here where the sky meets the ear, and there's no real contrast. So it might not know where to adhere itself. It might go a little bit farther in, and that's okay. If you kind of screw up on your selection, just hit delete, pull your cursor back, hit delete, keep hitting delete until you actually can go back and click on the new pixel information so that it knows where to select. So you're kind of basically following along the edges of your cow. Using the spacebar, I would really, really emphasize the importance of zooming in on your image, because sometimes we can get more detailed in that. So zooming in and then using the spacebar to navigate your artboard. Now it's okay, see how I kind of messed up right there? The lip's not quite perfect. That's okay, I can go back and I'm gonna show you how to quickly fix that. So I'm just kind of right now just, kind of tracing this. I can obviously go back and make a more refined selection. So, it's okay if you kind of just don't get it right the first time. Delete here. I got myself. You can kind of get yourself in trouble with this tool too if you kind of accidentally put your tool in a spot that you're not supposed to have it. So it takes a little bit of practice, but once you kind of get the idea of how this works and, you know, kind of get the feel, it's actually a kind of cool tool to use because it does a lot of the work for you in regards to, you know, adhering itself to the pixel information that you want it to and tracing your image out in a nice, more detailed way. Okay, so I am just finishing this selection up. You can see these anchor points. It's not the best, but I can go in, like I said, and refine this. So what you want to do is go all the way back to the very start and click right on top of that last pixel that you, or the anchor point that you created. And when I zoom out, I have this selection, which I call a marching ant selection. So that's telling me my cow is selected, and I can do whatever I want to do to this. So that's what, you know, if I were to say change the color, it's going to change the color just to the cow and not the background. So I want to see how good that I, you know, maybe how, I want to see what my quality of selection is. So I'm going to go into my toolbar with this selection. So don't click anywhere but here. At the very bottom, there's a little, it's a square with a circle in it, and it's called Edit in Quick Mask Mode. So we're just going to click right on that. And when you click on that, you're going to see your selection, which is the cow, in regular color, and your background, which isn't selected, is in red. So what you can do, and this is how you can see how good you did with the selection tool, is zoom in here, you know, say like around, let's see, remember that lip area I was talking about? This part I could smooth out a little bit better. So all I need to do in this quick selection option, just take my brush tool. If you select B on your keyboard, it goes right to it. And if you want to resize it, the resizing options are up here. If you want to do a quick resize, it's on your keyboard on a Mac, would be your indents. Oops. So right next to your letter P, for instance, if you select the left indent, mine's not changing here. Hold on a second. Something going on. I think my computer's a little sluggish today. Must be the full moon. So what this is you can paint your edges. Watch what I do here. For some reason, it's really, really sluggish right now. So I'm going to paint the selection that I meant to paint, and that's if your white is in the front here. So pay attention to that. If you want to, say I accidentally selected this part, which is the grass, just flip these two around so the black is in the forefront, and then you can take your brush tool and get, you know, deselect that. Oops, let me undo that. So you can always edit this and refine it, you know, so that the edges are a little bit more detailed here. For instance, here, I would switch it to white in the forefront so that I can select this bottom part. Now you can select your edge settings too if you don't want it to be like, you know, have a lot of wispiness, you know, that fuzzy edge. You can change that up here, and you click on your brush tool, and here's the size and the hardness. The harder it is percentage wise, you know, the higher the percentage, the harder the brush is, meaning you won't have that fuzzy edge that you just saw me do. So this is just nice because then you can go in and just, you know, kind of refine your selection so it's a little bit more accurate, and it's not as edgy or like, you know, it doesn't have like sharp edges where it looks jaggy. It looks more natural, especially if you have something with hair and you want to kind of try to get it to being, flip these if you want to deselect or select something, sorry. So white is select and black in the front is deselect. So when I say deselect, that red, when I click on this edit mask mode, you'll see that red part is what's not selected. and the other part, which is showing through, is what's selected. So you can click back and forth with that. You know, get the best that you can. And when you're done, just go ahead and click right back onto that Edit Quick Mask and say this is the selection that you want. It's refined, it looks good. So now you can go in and actually put a new adjustment layer. So go up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and you can do whatever you want to it. Say if you want to change the hue and saturation, go ahead and do that. Once you do that, you have, you know, all the different ways you can change the color of the cow, and see how it's just changing the color of the cow. Pretty cool. You could do like a Andy Warhol look. Now, if you didn't want to do, say you wanted to maybe make the background black and white and the cow a color, what you would need to do, so say do the opposite, so you're affecting the background and not the cow. So say if I wanted the background to be black and white and the cow to remain like this, you wouldn't have to make sure that the background is selected right now, the cow is selected. So here's an easy trick to inverse this so that instead of the cow being selected, the background selected. So go up to your selection with your cow selected and just choose inverse. And what that's going to do, and if you hit this quick mask mode again, you'll see no longer is the cow selected, the background selected. So then you can go up here and go back up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer. We're going to do the same thing, hue, saturation, click OK. And we're going to take the saturation down. So you can see when I take that saturation to the left, so it's a negative 100% over here, that the background is turning black and white. So it's taking all the color out, but then it's leaving the cow as is because I inversed that selection. So it's kind of a neat way if you want to kind of play around with, you know, having something pop out. And I think this is a really cool way to make it so much more visually interesting, you know, with photographs. All right, well, I hope this kind of gave you some ideas to play around with. And, you know, like I said, you don't necessarily have to use the magnetic lasso tool if it's frustrating you. Try the lasso tool. That's always a good one too. It's a little bit, you know, it's more freehand where you're kind of following along the lines. But the magnetic lasso tool you should play around with as well, just to get the feel of it and experiment.